I think Ghana generally does not pay very well. If you take all the professions together, yeah, so not necessarily just tech. And so I
Okay.
think if your CEO is not being paid very much, right? Your HR is not being paid very much. You don't expect to be paid.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode on Kweku Tech. On today's video, we are coming to discuss about the tech industry in Ghana. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit on the notification icon below. So I have with me today Mr. Francis there. So Mr. Francis, how do you see the tech industry in Ghana? Like,
Yeah, that's it's a bold statement when you want to talk about the tech industry in Ghana, because I think that it's a bit of many things. First of all, it's about what Ghana usually does. What are we generally into? I think I've come to know mostly people who are in the finance aspect of tech, and then there are upcoming people who are also in IoT who do a bit of that. And so broadly, I would say that we are largely into IoT related and then finance. Yeah, so I see that as what dominates the tech industry in Ghana. So generally, what I think is I think we've been able to do a lot of things. Even though, for instance, if you talk about the IoT aspect, it hasn't gone so far per se, because we don't generally use these IoT devices in real world sense. And so any person you meet who is using tech in IoT is either in a research stage, people who are in education, who are doing projects and experimenting with things, but you hardly find them using these things in a real world setting. So, but when you come to the finance aspect, that's where you see people actually using tech to solve problems. And so, payment integrations, when it comes to e-commerce, things like that, and then things related to finances.
so talking about that, has our education system in Ghana support the tech industry firmly or what?
Well, they will say there is a lot of support for it, because I think we have a number of schools who are geared towards teaching people technology. So there are dedicated tertiary institutions who are like, we are all about technology, and they prepare people for it. But I think we all know that one of the major issues we have is the practicality. And so no matter how nice, unless some selected few who really put the effort in and say, okay, we are teaching our students technology and we are giving them the best of resources, we have the labs, we have the teachers, and they are teaching them. But for most of these other institutions, it's more theoretical.
So, will
Yeah.
you say our tech is based purposely on theory than the practical aspect?
Yeah, it's mostly theory than the practicals. But I think one of the things that I started witnessing, especially when I was on campus, was the fact that there were upspringing of these tech communities. And so
Okay.
you hear like Google developer community, you hear of global code, things like that, initiatives like that. You hear of developer student clubs, and more of those, right? DIV, which is also these institutions who are into training mostly females in the tech space, Pi Ladies, Django Girls. I can mention quite a lot of them, right? So these organizations have the focus on teaching people the practical aspects. And so the target is mostly if you are interested in tech, these are the programs we are holding. You have boot camp sessions, sometimes for a year, few months, and you come in and then you learn practical stuff. You meet people who are in the industry, and then you're able to network. So I think that the uprising of these things is helping people to get a practical feel of the tech. Yeah.
So, will we say most of our tech people are based on the NGOs than the educational system?
Yeah, mostly NGOs, because I personally had my breakthrough from these other institutions, And so I think what the school is doing well and they can do well in is have a collaboration with these NGOs, because they are all about the practical. They have the resource people, especially with Global Code, for instance. You have people coming from the UK and from different parts of the world who came with the resources. So we had the Arduino board, Raspberry Pi, and all of those devices provided for us already. And so there were sensors, everything that was provided. All you needed was the presence of students who are willing. And the campus gave us the opportunity to use their hostels. So 2018, I was part of people who got, you know, uh, the chance to be part of Global Core 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it was during a long vacation. So we came to campus, we were hosted at ATL Hall, and then for 3 weeks, we were going to one of the library basements on campus, and the devices were brought. So that was how we were able to interact. So I think when a school is willing to host people like that, it works best and it's good. Yeah.
So, what are some of the challenges that you, let me use you for example, you face growing up into the tech industry in Ghana?
Yeah. Well, there were a number of them. Um, I think first of all, getting access to good internet is one of the challenges because it's expensive. That's the first thing. And even if you're able to have access to it, it's not as fast as you will expect it to be. Because I started consuming YouTube when I was in level 300.
Wow.
I can't remember the specific year, but it was late. It was late. So my level 100, I was consuming a lot of books, 600-page books, and you need some level of discipline in order to be able to consume such a book. But when I got in touch with videos in level 3, and I realized that you could learn so much more and you see more. And so, but then in order to have access to good quality videos, you need good quality internet. And so we needed to go to one of our lecture halls, get there in time, have a internet cable, connect it to your laptop, download, for like stay there for like 3 hours, download videos, then go back and then try to go through. Or if you want to do that with your personal budget, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the major challenges. If you have that taken away, I think another challenge is having people to inspire or motivate you, because I feel that the structure of the syllabus does not cater much for us. Because imagine it was level 400 before we were learning web development and then building server side stuffs. Level 400, and it's not the best. It's not the best because there are, if I don't want to compare to a different country, but on a larger scale, there are people who are doing these web development stuff even in high school in different countries. So if you are in tertiary and you are learning web development in level 400, that is when you are just going out. When do you get the experience enough, to do stuff? Because as you are going out, you are supposed to fit the industry. They have some level of expectation. So I think that learning structure does not favor a lot. So it means as an individual, you need some other interventions. So that's where the NGOs come in again. It's like you have some groups on campus that are dedicated weekends or after lectures. Because when you go there, you learn more. Because Global Code taught us a lot in 3 weeks. We learned GitHub, we learned IoT electronics, we learned Python, and then we're able to learn Flask for web development all within 3 weeks in a fast-paced learning environment. And I realized that we could learn more if like we are disciplined enough within a short period of 3 weeks. But we spent like 5 months on campus learning a programming language for which we don't even reach classes. We learn functions, data types, blah blah, and then we don't even reach classes, and then the semester is ended.
So, will you say our education system should be a little adjust to practical more than the theory?
One of the things, but it's difficult to restructure education systems. So your best chance is to like find a path yourself. For me, that's the best advice I would give. Like if you are going to do IT, computer science, whatever it is that you are going to do, when you set your foot there, try to get involved in a community that will help you and make that. Get the grades, go for the lectures, get the best out of it because it also has something to offer. But also make the effort to be part of this organization where you can build stuff, do stuff with people, and get the skills. Yeah.
So, has there been improvement in the tech industry in Ghana now as we speak? Looking at the past and now, has there been any improvement that you've seen?
Yeah, I think there have been some major improvements. I think people are getting more exposed to tech stuffs compared to the time that we were in. Because now we have Google, some aspect of Google Office down here, and that made a lot of airwaves. And so people hear it and be like, wow, Google is here. What are the opportunities that we can do? Even though now it's targeted towards those who are in PhD masters and a few of those who are in undergraduate. But I think the presence alone has let people know that in a few years to come, if they can focus on tech, there's a lot they can benefit from having Google here, and then we have the likes of Twitter as well coming up. And so I think, and then also the pandemic came around, the opportunity to work from home, invest in internet connectivities and things like that has set people's mindset that okay, I think there is something in tech. So I think there's much more awareness out there, and but this is only to the few, the people who are in the settings around us, people who are in Accra, who are seeing things happening. Because I know growing up where I come from, you don't hear things like this. You don't hear things like this. So if we talk about people getting to know more about it, I would say people who are in this geographical location go beyond Accra. You can't speak much of it. Maybe Cape Coast, UCC, there is a community of developers there. Ufredra, there are some the communities over there. Kumasi has communities, but if we go beyond these places, are there active presence of developers or developer groups there? That is the question. So there's still much work to be done.
Okay, sure. So talking about the challenges, this thing came in mind. Most of the programmers in the country that I had chat with, they said people misunderstand them or frame them for being fraud people.
Yeah.
Have you been in a situation like that before? Like a police stopping you just to check you because of your appearance or something, and they take you to be a fraud boy or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of instances. I've not experienced that personally, but I've heard of instances, close friends who get stopped and then checked, just to be sure that they are not fraudsters and all of that. Yeah, I mean, I think people misunderstand. You are sitting in your room. I remember when I go on vacation and I get home, and I mean, all I do is wake up, be in my room, my laptop, internet, and everything, and then just building stuff. And people don't get it right, so you'll be like, "Hey, Charlie, where you are inside the room and just with your computers." Because now they know guys who do fraud and all of those things. They are just with their laptops inside the room, and then they have money. So I think one of the things that I did was people who came close to me, I try to interact with them on the things I do. So I remember when I was building mobile apps, front end and all of those things, I would show them to the people, be like, "You see the way WhatsApp is, and you chat with people and all of that. That's something that I'm also doing. And so I'm writing this code. What you are seeing, that's what I want to achieve." So people who start to interact with me kind of start having an idea that, oh, this is what I'm doing and all of that, and they come to realize that it's an actual work. It's like building construction where you have to draw a plan for a building before you start the actual building. Except in the software engineering field, you don't see it with your eyes, but that is what is ongoing. And so with time, people understand. So it's about orientation, where you find yourself. If you can explain to people that this is what you do, they get to understand. But if you have more of people who do that, then you could also be blacklisted as one of those guys.
Okay, I heard something of programmers have money a lot. In Ghana here, does programming pay as a job? Like if you are not, let's limit it to Ghana tech companies.
Mm.
Do they really pay?
Well, I think Ghana generally does not pay very well. If you take all the professions together, yeah, so not necessarily just tech. And so I think if your CEO is not being paid very much, right? Your HR is not being paid very much. You don't expect to be paid. You don't expect to be paid uh, super, I guess. And so I've had some few experiences with that. From the time we started building products, people generally don't want to pay more for products. That's it, like we want a website, and then how much can you do it for us? The moment you start mentioning price, or even if it's 500 Ghana cedis, hey, 500 Ghana cedis. And they were like, oh, I just want something, like YouTube links to be here, and then just the people don't see what building stuffs entail. So they think
Okay.
it's something you can just use 1 day or 2 days, do it, and then So people don't understand first of all what you do. So if you want to even price high, you don't get a lot of people to patronize. So I think it also controls how you price. And if you price low, then obviously you need to also pay your developers a bit low, yeah, in order to maintain the loop. So generally that has been it. And another downside is that our government also even goes outside to get developers outside, pay huge sums of money for them to build stuff for them. And so you realize that we also don't value our own
Own
developers in the
development.
system. I don't know if it's because we don't trust our education system to bring out the best. So we go for people outside, we pay them huge, and so at the end of the day, the people within the country don't value the things we build from tech, so
Okay.
they don't patronize with much money. And if you are someone who is in the tech space and you have developers building stuff for you, you can't pay them very high because you don't get much from what you pay. So where I used to work, they were also into USSD systems, which they liaise with the telcos. They were also into SMS, and I mean SMS. One SMS could cost like 0.05 pesos. Yeah, so bulk SMS is what brings much money, but how much can you get from things like this? And then you go maybe websites for people, how much would they pay in order for you to be able to pay your developers so much? So I think generally, if you compare all of these things, we all don't get paid as we should be paid.
So if you are supposed to rate tech industry in Ghana, let me say 1 to 10. What will be your rate?
Well, within our exposure, I think five is good.
Five.
We are fairly in between. Five is good.
So
We are not doing very well. We are
salary
not. We
wise,
are not doing so bad. Well, I don't know how much everyone gets paid
okay.
because I think there are network administrators, software engineers, and things like that.
Pertaining to what you do.
Pertaining to what I do,
Uh,
yeah, I don't think it's so good.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's so good. Yeah. Well, I think another thing also is about hierarchy. A lot of companies invest into hierarchies. It's like if you're not in this domain of career growth,
Okay.
because they will not pay someone who just came out from university a huge sums of money.
Okay.
So let me just put it into perspective. We know national service is around 559.
Yeah.
It has been like that for a while now. 559. Now, I know when you are out of school fresh and you are having a degree certificate and you go out to work or teach, minimum will be around 1,500. That is gross for a month before you take your tax out. And so usually that's where people, if you are fortunate, that's where you start from 1,500. So every company will be like, if you are coming in fresh, that is actually where they are going to peg you. So no matter how good you are, it doesn't really matter to them.
So what would be an average salary for someone with 2 years experience in programming in Ghana here?
Yeah, 2 years experience. Well, I can't really tell, but depending on where you are, if you've climbed the ladder within that 2 years, you are probably from just software and then you are climbing up to a team lead or something. Probably if they could double it, so you are going like 3k thereabout, 3k thereabout. But I mean, like you are saying, we are looking at the typical Ghanaian systems with the advent of companies which are out from coming from outside and being established in Ghana. They have their own payment systems
Okay.
because in most of those countries there are you can't pay people below a particular threshold.
Okay.
So when they come down here, people could be paid close to 3,000 even if they are just coming from
University.
university without
Okay.
much experience. So along the way, you see that they'll be climbing 5,000, and it could go higher.
Okay. Thank you very much. Your last word for our audience.
Yeah. So I would say that one of the things about tech is the fact that you can work remotely. I think, and so that is, I wouldn't say it's a bad side because everyone is trying to survive, right?
Okay.
So one would say, okay, why not, work for your country, be engaged with your country, work with the tech industry and all of that. But if you are good and you think you can work with countries outside, I mean, they pay relatively much more.
You pay bills.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They pay relatively much more, so you just got to have the skills and all of that. So and just recently I got insight into some people, how much they are paid. I had a conversation with a friend who was is in the nursing field. Recently we had a conversation, and you'll be surprised to hear that even tech pays relatively much more than even people you hear that they are in the banking field, they are in the health field, or they are even the law, or even lecturers. If you want to compare some of the pays that developers get to those people comparatively, the developers get paid more. And because some to also work on the side, like you can do side gigs on weekends and things like that. If you put all of those together, it pays much more. So if you're not getting a good pay now, you should just work hard, use your time well, explore, and it will be good. And yeah, I think it's also a good thing that Kakutech is talking about this. So make sure you subscribe. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Peace.